June 20th, Chiron moving into the sign of Taurus. Remember the Jimmy Carter thing, Iran-Contra, but also the gas lines and interest rates go up to 20% one summer. Queen, loved and revered, called in by the elves in their darkest hour. Her name means sublime or lofty. The lady of the heights, as lovely as the snow. The gods of the Inuit people. And they are like the same thing as Uranus and Gaia in ancient Greek mythology. Today, we're talking about Chiron. We always call him the wounded healer, the guy who apparently gives us trouble, but actually he's the interface between the immortal and the mortal, the divine and our everyday mortal muggle self. And he's also the bridge between our planets that define our life in this matrix and what lies beyond it. And in that way, we can't just make him the wounded healer, like some kind of sad sack of a character. And in today's video, we're talking about, and please bear with me, it gets very magical, how he's hooking up in a beautiful relationship to Varda, the queen of the elves from Tolkien. She's the lady of the stars, and we call to her in our darkest, deepest, difficult times. And this energy is happening soon because not only is he hooking up to Varda, the asteroid that I described to you, but Chiron is transiting into Taurus. And Taurus is a new territory for him. We haven't seen him in Taurus since the late 70s into the 80s, and he's back again. His orbit of roughly 50 years allows for this to happen once or twice in a lifetime, depending on how long you're going to live. And he's finishing a long stay, an almost 9-year stay in the sign of Aries for the sign of war and the wounds of war. And indeed, his last stint through Aries brought us the difficult times of the Vietnam War. In fact, most of his journey through the sign of Aries takes us right back to the late 60s to 1977. And that is the entirety of the beginning, the middle, and the end of that Vietnam War / police action, which left a huge wound on the psyche of the world and the collective about the wounds of war. And we're going to get into that in a minute because that's coming to an end. I know everyone's going, thank God. So when does Chiron move into the sign of Taurus and offer us something different than the wounds of war? I can't wait. He's going to enter into the Taurus kingdom, the sign of the bull, fixed earth, and give us a whole new set of challenges. But he'll be moving into that part of our charts individually and collectively, giving us something else to ponder. He'll head into that part of our heavens on June the 20th. He will then continue to move forward at the 0-degree mark and barely get anywhere until August 3rd when he turns retrograde. And then September the 17th, he will be his very last day in Taurus. And you're going, wow, I thought you said he was going to be going through Taurus for a while. Yes, like 7 years. But he needs to get a little bit more back into that Aries wounds of war again. Sorry, guys. It's the story. But also, he's going to finish up what he didn't finish. He's going to tidy up and mop up the Aries part of our sky. Now, we're not having wounds of war. I'm an Aries sun, but we have other kinds of wounds that we had to address since 2019, February, when he entered into Aries. And we'll be covering that information for you today. What came before you, the wounds of Aries, what might be ahead of you. And if you like this kind of predictive content for your sign, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. My name is Lori Lothian. I'm a Western tropical zodiac astrologer, and we are using whole sign houses, the ancient house system that allows for delineation of Time Lord tools and techniques. If you don't know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, or you want to find out your rising sign, look in the description box below. Everything below, freebies, tutorials, amazing asteroid courses, under the more ... button. Grab all the free stuff I give you. It's there for you to use. Now, one thing I want to mention about Chiron. He was discovered in the 70s. He got this huge elliptical orbit. It's very eccentric. It takes it's a centaur body, right? And he's also been talked about a lot. Like various astrologers have tried to figure Chiron out. I did a couple of webinars on him, Chiron, the Key to Purpose, Chiron and Life Timing Cycles. Those are going to be free gifts for you because I hope you're going to attend my Chiron and Taurus webinar that I'll be putting out soon. And hopefully I'll have a link under this video for you to get ahead of the curve on that. And the 2 courses I'm gifting you for free will give you enough understanding of Chiron to come to that webinar and really enjoy the ride, including some guided meditation. So one thing about Chiron, not only is he a bridge between our mortal and immortal selves, or the everyday realm of the Matrix, like Neo in the Matrix, and what's beyond it. right? He's a bridge between Saturn and the outer planets. And he was called by Barbara Hand Clow the Rainbow Bridge. All right. So I love that term, but it literally, she's an astrologer. It literally is also the concept that we have something in our own lives that is wounded at birth. We're born with Chiron in a particular house and whole sign in our chart, and the meaning of that house and the meaning of that sign and the meaning of planets that Chiron might be sitting with in that sign represent the place of our woundedness. For example, when I was born, I had Chiron sitting in my second house of my face, right? And all my childhood, I had a complex that I was extremely ugly. I used to hide completely under my hair. And it didn't help that I was bullied by a guy in grade 8 who told me that. But I remember telling my mom, oh my God, my face, my forehead's too big, my lips are too fat, my nose is too fat. And like literally I had a facial wound, second house, but I also had other wounds here. And one of the wounds that I had was about making money and earning money because Chiron, the key to purpose, is asking for purposeful, meaningful income making. And I couldn't find that in my life. I kept struggling. I was a journalist. I was a writer. I was this, but I never really found that place where I felt on purpose. Now, the energy about Chiron, wherever he sits in your chart, is that there's a fundamental wound that when you heal it, you transmute the wound and the pain of the wound into healing and wisdom. And then your natural talents and gifts you're here to offer the world. Call that your original magic, the thing that, or, medicine, and it's magical medicine that you're here to give the world, like your fingerprint, right? So unique, your eye print, your facial recognition print. There's some part of you that no one else can do what you're here to do. And Chiron helps us find it. Chiron has a deep wound of belonging and a deep wound of abandonment by his mother. Come to my webinar or watch the replays of my classes that are down there in the description box for free, because we all have an existential mother wound. We don't come from Mother Earth. I know, star seeds, I'm going totally woo on you, but in a way it's true. We are really star beings in mortal form. And in a way, we all have a feeling this is not our true home, that we really don't belong here, whether it's the earth we don't belong to as an earth mama or this matrix realm that we don't belong to. Most of us have an innate sense of not belonging here. But in our own lives, Chiron can be, I don't belong in my family of origin. I don't belong in my social group. I don't belong in my marriage. I don't belong in my job. I don't belong with my colleagues and coworkers. There's unbelonging in all kinds of our spots of our life. Those houses in our chart show us the unbelongingness. And we also can feel with Chiron that like there's something fundamentally wrong with us. Like there's fundamentally something wrong with us, each of us. Everyone has that feeling. If you don't have that feeling, you might not be from this, you might not be human. You might be a non-game player. I've never talked to an individual, if you get down into a deep conversation, who doesn't have a nagging feeling, there's something wrong with me. And there's not always a diagnosis. It's an existential wound of something's wrong with me. Okay. It's a human condition wound. I read a book years ago, Shame, Betrayal, Abandonment, the 3 primary human wounds. We all have that, but deep underneath that, I'm ashamed, I'm betrayed, I'm abandoned, is something else. Something like, I don't belong to myself. This isn't who I really am. This is Neo in the Matrix with a splinter in his mind. Okay. Now, we're going to go through your sign. And we're going to talk about this short introduction preview video to the ingress of June 20th, Chiron moving into the sign of Taurus, testing the Taurus Earth until September 17th, giving us a flavor of what will come when Taurus goes all the way back. Praise the Lord. Taurus goes all the way back into Aries to 26 degrees of Aries. If you have planets 25 to 29 Aries, you're going to feel the last check-in with the wound that you've been dealing with. And then what'll happen is he'll move forward on January the 6th in Aries. And then on April 15th of 2027, he's landing in Taurus and does not leave Taurus until May of 2034. So we're going to have a nice run of about 7 years, like we did from 1977 to approximately mid 80s when he was in Taurus before. Now, you might remember being around then and try to remember how life went. You might remember some stories about that, like remember the Jimmy Carter thing, Iran-Contra, but also the gas lines and interest rates go up to 20% one summer. I was a student in university. I left my like life savings of $2,000 in my university bank account, bank on my campus, and I came back after the summer and 20% interest had hit me. I felt like I won the jackpot. Of course, in that era, if you held money in any way, like you were like working, like you had a mortgage you had to pay and interest rates, or you wanted to borrow money, you were really screwed. My poor dad, because he was like probably, going, what the hell's going on here? Unless he had bonds and money sitting in cash, it was in trouble, right? So we're going to see similar things because Taurus represents currency. Taurus represents money, economic factors, the stock markets. Obviously, they weren't doing so great back in the 80s. The gas lines were big. So when Taurus is being wounded, it's going to be wounds to those things, including agriculture and earth and earthquakes even. So we'll notice a span of time where we test that kind of woundedness, June the 20th, collectively. All right, until September 17th. So this is maybe not a good time to be in the stock market. New York Stock Exchange has its sun in Taurus, for example. But there's bigger stories for that. What I'm going to do today, because this is way in advance. This is like 6 weeks in advance of this story. Well, maybe not. I don't even know if I'll put it out there because I'm afraid that if it's too ahead of the SEO, nobody's going to watch it. But I will give you this. I'm going to give you a lay of the land, a general vibe for your sign of what you can do with this in terms of kissing goodbye, the Aries wound that hit you in the gut back in 2019, and you've been trying to shake it off, and what's coming next, a preview of some of the elements of Chiron activating, making something happen here in Taurus. And you'll get a preview, a testing of those waters on June 20th to September 17th, and relief from the Aries wound. And of course, it's back full on next April until April 27, until May of 2034. I'm not going to focus as deeply on Taurus as I am going to focus on what's leaving your life. All right. The what's coming into your life is next, but please go watch my 2 videos that I'm gifting you for free, Chiron, the Key to Purpose, and Chiron for Life Timing Cycles, in the description box below. If you watch those videos, you'll be excited about the whole Chiron concept. All right, so let me show you the sky, what we're going to talk about here. And I know I'm putting this up really ahead of the curve. It may be a sinker on my algorithm. So if you don't mind liking, subscribing, sharing, giving it some love, I would appreciate that. I really, really would. All right, this is the first of probably about 4 videos I'll be putting out about the Chiron story. Now, this is an empty sky because I just wanted to focus on Chiron. I'm back in the 1960s. Aha, let's go back to now. So Chiron right now, as I record on May 4th, is sitting at 27 degrees of Aries. This guy's been very busy. He's been a part of eclipses in Aries. He's trying to eclipse our wounds of war. The sign of war and conflict is Aries, also adventure and pioneering. Apparently, Artemis went around the moon with some real people on it. Right? Is that true? I don't know. But Aries is like space adventure, right? And so that happened apparently. But we also have had a lot of wounds of war, particularly Ukraine, Russia, and even more so the genocide in Gaza. Well, I said the word, I'll probably get demonetized, but oh well. And basically, when the kids were starving and the pictures were out there, emaciated children, and a famine had been declared by various organizations globally, and all the food aid and other aid was being held at the border by the nation of Ai in the Middle East, in Gaza, that were starving. That was when the children were being shown all over the world with pictures of emaciated children. And what happened was Chiron, the wounded one in the sign of war, was tracking with the asteroid Child and wound and war. The collective was like, what? Doctors Without Borders was screaming. Yes, Chiron is a medical community as well. And so we see that is behind us now, that asteroid is no longer tracking with Chiron, but it can be very literal. And we all had to face the wounds of war with children as asteroid Child traveled with Chiron through the sky. And we were all pretty well aghast. So that would have been, I think, this war is so god awful. You can't even call it a war because it's asymmetrical and disproportionate. When people have an army and bombs and the other side really doesn't, but I'm not going to continue with that. story. I called it as it was in the beginning. I knew it was going to be bad, and it has been. So let's move on. Chiron will leave here. It's just like the Vietnam War, guys. Okay, like let's nail it. All right, 1968. That's when Chiron entered into Aries. We had eclipses. We had the assassination of Martin Luther King. We had the unaliving, better word, of the Robert Kennedy, who was running for office to expose stuff that his brother wanted to expose, right? So deep state secrets, especially to do with the Nation of I, because Kennedy was against what the Nation of I was doing, which is building up a nuclear arsenal. And so all said, when it was taken out because of it. So all said and done, what I'm trying to tell you is Chiron showed us the wounds of war, and the wounds of war can also mean the decapitation of world leaders taken from power because they're a liability to those who do not need them or want them in power. So even Charlie Kirk would fit in with the assassination of MLK / Robert Kennedy, etc. People like that. And if you know the story, because a lot of you don't, so that's fine. It'll be known eventually. But the idea here that I like to make of it is that we have lived through this Chironic wounds of war since spring of 2019 when Chiron ingressed into Aries. He's 9 years in Aries, is 7 years in Taurus. His orbit is not circular. It's like an ellipsis. It's a long oval. And we thought Ukraine-Russia was gnarly, and hundreds of thousands of Russian and Ukrainian soldier young people have perished. But we also saw a televised geocide. So the wounds of war have hit a new height for all of us collectively, individually. Take your pick. How you feeling about it? Most of us are feeling sick to our stomach about what we've seen and witnessed. And this is leaving now. Chiron wants to get out of the wounds of war, but he's not just wounding us. He's trying to get us to heal it, to transmute the poison into medicine, to transform and metamorphosize the pain into something beautiful. And he will be leaving, and he will continue to move this way, as it's called zodiacal order, this way. And as he moves forward, he will be here. And what I want to draw your attention to is something I think is absolutely beautiful and extremely hopeful. I'm hopeful. Can I really be that hopeful? I'm trying. Watch what I want to show you. Ready? Hit the like button, please. Subscribe if this content is hitting the mark for you and you want to understand the bigger picture cycles of life. Please hit the like button and subscribe, and good shit like that. So on June 20th at 0 degrees of Taurus, he crosses over. All right. This is Vancouver, Australia. I don't know where Australia is. Vancouver, Australia. Hi, everyone. My software keeps giving me this Australia location. It doesn't really matter. For the world, for most of us, on June 20th, Chiron moves over into Taurus, and then he's going to hang here at 0 degrees, as I mentioned, turn around August 3rd, and turn back around on September 17th. In essence, though, go back to Aries until next April. I want you to think of June 20th to September 17th as a lesson plan, as something that you're learning about what you're going to learn in the 7 years that follow. Starting next April, add 7 years. This is the technique of Cole's notes, or the curriculum, or the keynote, or the broad brushstroke themes that will prevail for you, me, and the world because of Chiron's testing the waters foreshadowing element. Now, what's so cool here to me is the beautiful energy building up. Yes, he's got a T square. That's not easy. That's obsessive control, power, manipulation, love, money, wealth, Venus, Pluto. Yeah, that's a challenger. That's going to be an unfortunate headache. Technically, because he's not fully ingressing into Taurus, this is the headache we deal with most acutely. Okay, this is the problem that's most active June 20th to September the 17th. Okay, the final ingress chart, which is next year, will be a little bit different. So we have the T square. Why? Because that is a T square. All right, and it means it's difficult. Now, it could be worse because Chiron is approaching a T square but never makes it happen, right? Because he has to back off and leave Taurus before it becomes especially perfected. So there's a suggestion, a looming feeling of power, Pluto on the ascendant of China, for example, power, control, domination, authority, world stuff, big world stuff. Venus can be about, of course, Leo, leaders, leadership, money, wealth, gold. Venus is in the sign of gold. And over here, Chiron, some wounds. I think the markets are going to be shaking. Okay. I think this is going to be a very turbulent market environment this summer, June the 20th to September 17th. September 17th. I am not a financial astrologer. All right. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to think about the delay of oil, the backlog, the pipeline, rising food prices for lack of fertilizer, gas lines and pumps and stuff like that, because it was during the Jimmy Carter era when there were big lines at the gas station and gas prices were crazy high. That era is back again. And that was literally a crisis in oil. So we're probably coming back to something similar. Now, what I like about it, that's not about that stuff, is this. This is amazing. Sila, Nunam, and Varda, the queen of the elves, and Chiron forming a esoteric, magical, spiritual formation of energy. Because Chiron can be the bridge between the divine and mortal realms, like in Norse mythology, there is a rainbow bridge between the gods and the mortals. Varda is the elf queen, but she's not a human. She's not a mortal being. She's not even really an elf. She's some kind of celestial deity who created the stars and who has a blue constitution and a bright white light around her. And I'm going to share more of that in a minute. And the point of this creation of Varda in the Tolkien fiction is interesting because if you think about blue non-human entities that could be luminous, you think of either Cocoon, which is luminous humanoids, the movie, or you think of Avatar. And in ancient Indian Vedic, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharatas type stuff, those talk about these blue beings. That's why you see Krishna blue. And so and I've dreamt of these blue beings, and I think they're ancient and they're part of humanity's formation. But to me, Varda is one of those. Varda is, Tolkien wrote it knowing that mythology of the Indian Vedic stories and scriptures and ancient texts. So I think that Varda is the creator of stars. That's one of her delineations. And to reach out to her for help when you're in trouble in your darkest hour. But for the elves, it wasn't like she was another elf. She was a different species. In fact, she was a part of the Valor or the Valar species. So she's something else. And here is Varda. And it reminds me of the Portugal thing with the lady who showed up for the 3 young girls. And other people saw something like a ball of light in the sky or a UFO-like event, whereas the 3 young girls were talking about it being like a Mother Mary figure. Fatima in Portugal. I have a feeling that Fatima and the lady was more like whatever Varda is. So look at this beautiful opening this summer for something quite exceptional. And over here, Sila Nunam is the Earth Mother and the Sky God, like Gaia and Uranus, but it's an Eskimo tradition or Inuit. And it's the same idea, the Sky God and the Earth, the bridge between heaven and earth, mortal and immortal. That's what that is. There's something exceptional happening as well in the midst of our economic chaos. That's what I'm trying to say. It's possible because she's the lady of the stars, and the UFO community is now going through a major crisis of what the hell. It's not just that. It's also jet propulsion labs, and scientists are missing. Some of them were doing research into new energy forms, directed energy weapons, anti-gravity, free energy though. Anyway, but it's possible we're going to see something going on that is inspiring us, like the Fatima thing this summer, that something can heal humanity's collective wound of being like we don't belong here. Why are we here? What is this, a prison planet, a matrix? This doesn't feel like it's my home. Okay, in the comments, I want you guys to tell me how many of you had a feeling from childhood that you're not from here, that you don't belong here. In the comments, let me know. I have a strange birthmark that looks like a cat spot. And I dreamt about these cat-like aliens in a really cool dream when I was in my 30s. And I always said to my neighbors and my friends, I don't belong here. This is not my plan. I'm not from here. Like, what kind of kid comes straight out of the womb telling everybody they don't belong? They're from another planet. Then I became a science fiction obsessed person after that, not before. So in the comments, let me know how many of you have felt since a very young age that you're not from here somehow, you don't belong, and you missed your true home. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Please let me know, because that's my story. Chiron will always bring up the wound of being like the changeling or the unbelonging one in the world, in your family system, amongst your friends. It doesn't matter. But this is different. This is existential, beautiful, weird, positive, sky god, earth mother, mortal, immortal, Varda, the queen of the elves. I'm going to show you something before we do the all signs. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a looky-loo at something I made for you guys. Okay. And I want you to like take a peek with me, would you? Just for fun. Maybe take a screenshot if you like. That would be great. You get to keep the little picture. I'm going to give you 2 pictures today. I made that. I whipped that up. Varda, Lady of the Stars. It's a piece of art by Gerald Salvat. Sorry, I cut his name off. Salvatore, probably. So this is just my write-up on my software for this particular asteroid. By no means all-encompassing of what she stands for. Because as I said, I did some reading and she does seem to be of a different order of being, like a deity. But she's called the elf goddess from Tolkien's writings, married to her hubby Manwë. And she was a queen, loved and revered, called on by the elves in their darkest hour. Her name means sublime or lofty. And she's said to have created the stars and seeking to get in touch with the divine, reverence for all things in creation, tapping the source of great power. She tends to be accompanied by a luminous, rich blue color, and she's made out of light, and she's very, very bright. Okay. So I'm thinking Fatima, the lady, the bright lights, the balls of light people saw with the appearance or the apparition at Fatima, predicted by the girls that the lady said I'll show up so everyone can believe that I'm real. She gave the girls prophecies for the future. Apparently, I think the Vatican knows them, but there's some still unrevealed to us today. The other thing that the flow, so it's Varda in the sign of Capricorn. Taurus is where Chiron is. And then there's that flow from Chiron to Sila, Nunam. Okay, so the gods of the Inuit people. And they are like the same thing as Uranus and Gaia in ancient Greek mythology. The god of the sky, who rules weather and life force and breathed life into his wife's creations. Therefore, that is a immortal divine energy. And the wife's creations are on the earth plane, the mortal plane. So we have something special appearing this summer. I want to bring a ray of hope no matter what the economy looks like, okay? Although the war probably settles down with Chiron out of the wounds of war, June 20th to September 17th, the economic fallout of the trade lag and the pipeline slowdown and the bombed resources, like refineries and places where this stuff is made, you know what I mean, in the Arab world. In this war, the oil, the gas, the natural gas, even all of that has been disrupted, and it's not going to fix overnight. No matter, even if the war stopped today, May the 4th, right? The war of choice instigated by Trump and its boss, the nation of IL in the Middle East. That is literally not going to stop the economic damage. Okay. We're going to have higher prices in gas. We're going to have higher transportation of food. Prices have been jacked up because there's a shortage of fertilizer. The food prices go up. The stock markets will not like any of this. Okay. So all of this is to say, this is what we're going to go through. Probably. I could be wrong. All right. Could be wrong. Second thing I want to show you, but I do like the spiritual energy that I'm seeing here. I think we all need a good apparition, to get ourselves feeling better about life. So we just have an elf goddess land on the White House lawn. This is what I'm getting at. Now, here's the last thing I want to share with you guys. I just found this quite interesting. Now, don't forget, I mean, I'm not a Tolkien person. I didn't read Lord of the Rings. Sure, I saw the movies. I couldn't get through the books. My son read all of Tolkien's stuff. I mean, he's a kid. He's such a good reader. So this is a little poem called The Flight of the Nold Olvi from Valinor, VV 45 to 50. I don't know. This is probably in Tolkien's book, or this could be like from the Tolkien cult people, but listen how beautiful this is written. There, Bradil the Blessed. This are talking about Varda. The blue mantle. There's the blue color, like the ancient non-human entities like Avatar from the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata stuff. The Lady of the Heights, as lovely as the snow. Snow is white, right? As lights gleaming of the legions of the stars, the cold immortal queen of mountains, cold immortal queen. And I think it's cold because she has almost a lightning blue around her. The queen, cold immortal queen of mountains. So she's up high, she lands her spaceship up there, to fair and terrible. Terrifying. Terrible means terrified. To fair and terrifying. Terrible. To far and high for mortal eyes in Manwë's court. And They actually also called her Snow White in the fiction. So she's beautiful, she's cold, she's high, she's hard to reach, she's immortal, she's about the stars, and you can call on her in your darkest hour. So she was beloved, so she was benevolent, right? Kind of reminds me also of the last goddess of Mount Olympus who wanted to stay and help humanity, Astraea, the Star Maiden. Okay. I have no doubt that when Tolkien wrote his book, Varda was modeled after something like Astraea, the Star Maiden, the goddess of Mount Olympus who wanted to stick around and help humanity, stuck in, to give us a chance, etc. The rest of the gods abandoned us, apparently. And then there's also the idea of the blue luminous beings that might have been the original aliens that were on planet Earth having a battle, by the way, that the humans were sort of caught between or caught in. So there's something like that seems to be very important. Now, when we just talk about a goddess that's a part of the creation of stars, and we talk about UFOs and aliens and all of that, I think we're in the same wheelhouse, right? This is going to be one of those weird summers where it's disclosure. Spielberg's movies coming out, full disclosure. I think there's going to be a lot of UFO disclosure information, no longer called UFOs. Ariel, it used to be Ariel. Unidentified UAIP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. They got rid of Ariel because they're finding that it's not just about sky phenomena. They could be under the sea, Unidentified anomalous phenomena are going to dominate the landscape of our knowledge space, our news stories, and maybe our sense of wonder and awe. June the 20th to September the 17th. And you got to laugh at this because what is the 17th card in the tarot of the major arcana? Because it's September 17th is the last day that Varda spends in Taurus before backing into the sign of Aries. 17 is the star card. So there's so much synchronicity around this. So if you guys have any thoughts about Varda, maybe you're a Tolkien lover, maybe you've thought about Fatima or the blue people in Avatar, anyone have any ideas about what that might be? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Any psychics here feel this is a big disclosure window this summer? How do you feel about it? I'd love to hear. Now, what we're going to do is talk about your sign. I'm not going to focus on Taurus. Why? Because I'll do that closer to the actual ingress. I want to talk about what's leaving you now, the end of an era, the end of a 9-year cycle. And some of you might say a torture cycle. I'm sure you're going to be, oh, thank God it's over. I did not like that Aries in Chiron. You're trying to transmute the pain and the wound into wisdom, into healing, into something you can offer the world. If you don't work on yourself and you just go around doing your thing, oh, that was a ouchie, that hurt, and let's just forget it's there. Let's put on a Band-Aid or it is a temporary solution to the pain. Move on to Taurus. We'll try that one. If you want to investigate that wound, if you don't want to do anything with it, it'll just be like a bad shoulder for the rest of your life from a football wound. You got to heal it. Feel it to heal it, do whatever, do something to heal it. Otherwise you don't get the medicine and the gifts from it. She's saying, okay. All right. So let's go ahead and start with Aries. Because by God, if we're starting with Aries today, it makes sense, right? You've been dealing with this chironic wound for friggin' 2019. I believe it was February, and getting rid of it, not completely, but from June the 30th to September 17th. And getting a break from it. Yeah, you're going to go back and test it again. Sure, September 17th. You're going to go back. You're going to have a taste again until April 15th. Sorry about that. But mostly I want to get into the vibe of what you're completing, what you're going to get a new vibe for. So Aries, let's start with you. Kind of got rear-ended yesterday. Ish, whiplashy, not me, but the other, it's a long story. So I've got to get into my chiropractor. But it was probably a homeopathic remedy for something much more catastrophic. Aries, I am one of you. I have my sun and moon in Aries. So how are we doing? So, go back all the way to 2019. And what did you start to feel about the unbelongingness of life, how you don't fit in, how there's something fundamentally wrong with you, especially Aries rising. Aries sun, it's a wound of purpose and career. And Aries moon is kind of a wound of your emotional set points and the wound of home. Where do I live? And as an Aries moon and sun, for example, starting in 2019, I became a nomadic, not by choice. What happened was I had a series of rental properties that didn't stick around because landlords were selling, and I was moving and moving outside of my own control. And so the moon in Aries, those of you like me might have found that you moved more than you would have wanted since 2019, or you had an existential wound about your relationship to your own mother. And a mother wound was very active, including problems with your mother during the time we're talking about. This, you could have lost your mother could have been sick. Now, it's true for the Aries sun that much of this might have felt like you were off purpose in your career purpose, which is what the sun represents. And if that's true and you're like, damn it, I just can't get grooving with my purpose or my career, or something's off game here and I don't have the key to purpose. That could have been true, right? You might have been feeling that. And it's really tricky with Chiron because it's like this need for you to have this sort of, do you know that there's a book called The Leap, and I need to read it, but there's the concept of your zone of mediocrity, excellence, and genius. And Chiron is looking for your zone of genius. You've been through the life's wounds, and now Aries, you have a zone of genius that you're ready to wake up to. And have you been niggling with since 2019? What is my key to purpose? And is it my zone of genius? And some of you since 2019 may have found it. Like, it's not like this wound is here forever, especially if you're early degrees Aries, like, because Chiron, is finishing up at the last 6 degrees of Aries in the last 2 years. So some of you go back to 2019, go back to 2020, 21, 22. If you're Aries first, like 10 degrees, maybe you've actually figured it out. And this is me. Like, not that being an astrologer is everything to me, but it certainly feels like I hit my mark in a passion purpose that I authentically enjoy and love doing and feel like I'm giving something back to the world, my original medicine. So my Aries sun went through this wound and came out the other end with a solution. I want you all as Aries suns to think about whether you've kind of hit the mark in your idea of a purposeful purpose, career, direction in life, or you're still looking for it. And if you're still looking for it, that's totally fine because you don't have, it's still time left. Okay. Especially 25 to 29 degree Aries sun people, you still have time because we don't have the energy here yet until April, you've got between, sorry about that, September 17th to April 15th to figure it out one way or another. And the new energy coming in for you is the second house. Now, second house, facial wounds. I don't like the way I look. That would be more attacking or feeling you might have it if you're an Aries rising. Because Aries rising, the chironic wound is really deep. It's like, I don't fit in. I don't belong. There's something wrong with me. And some of you might even had to work on health issues, Aries rising. Starting back in 2019. But if you didn't have anything wrong with your body or health, then it was more like really deep unbelonging. Like, I don't belong to my character in the simulation. And what do I mean by a simulation? Well, let me explain it to you. I need to change my location. Dealing with a little whiplash here and I can't get comfy. What do I mean? I mean that you're literally, now I got to get comfy. You're literally somebody who probably feels like your avatar doesn't work for you anymore. What's an avatar? It's like if you're going to watch a video game, right? You're going to do a video game. What is your avatar? It's like literally the character in the simulation. It's not the real you. And it's not the real you. And somehow you don't believe it's the real you. And somehow you've got to get out of this fake you. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to fix the problem, guys. And I think for you, it's going to be like, okay, this is your last chance to figure out who the real you is. And the real you is always connected often to our sun sign. Okay. So there you go. What's the real you? You're leaving behind an attempt to find it. And now that Chiron's moving into your second house, you're going to heal wounds to do with your money, your earnings, your resources, your possessions. All of you Aries are. Okay. All of you are, not just the sun and moon. And I think a lot of times it's about our calling, our voice, and our vocation. And that's important because the second house is the voice, and voice is Latin for vocation. So where I want to leave you with that is you're looking for your true vocational calling, but you want to be able to make money from it. Okay. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Making money is a part of how you survive, but you want to be on purpose. And that's going to be nagging you until 2035. And by the way, talk to anyone who's lived through that already, and they'll give you their stories. And those people are the Pisces. They've already gone through this story. They've been looking for their purpose. in alignment with their earnings, and they come out the other end. So go ask a few Pisces, especially rising friends, for some guidance on that, and they'll be able to tell you how to get through it. Now, the whole Varda thing, really beautiful. It will attempt when Chiron is talking to Varda. Let's move ourselves ahead a day. Well, just trust me, I can't move it. I don't know if we're going to cover Varda today. We're going to move Varda back again. There she goes. She's retrograding. So just trust me, Varda is in a beautiful trine to Chiron, and Varda is in your career house. So the new story that you want to experiment with, that you're trying to get some juice on, you haven't quite figured it out, but you're willing to try. That new story is super connected to the idea of money, earnings, resources, purpose, career, and reputation. And that's what you're going to experiment with on the June 20th to September timeframe, September 17th. You're going to give it a try. You're going to test the waters and see what you can figure out there. And you've got a lot of beautiful flow to the workhouse, Sila Nunam. So what we have here is an Arta trine, which is all about resources, money, worth, self-worth, and livelihood. So there's something trying to show up for you, to show you the way at this time. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do each sign, I promise. But because I'm in an awkward condition trying to find a comfortable place, I guess it's quite comfortable here, but I need to prop the laptop up off pillow so it doesn't burn up in heat. I'll be right back. Thanks for your patience. Let's get back to the signs. And don't forget, this is a preview video. I'll be doing a very big video. This is not a very big video. This is a preview video. I'll be doing a much deeper dive as we get closer, including world events. So Taurus is next. I know you want me to address this. I can hear you guys yelling at me. Well, major transformation of wounds of self-worth connected to friendship and love. Okay. You're going to test those waters on June the 20th to September 17th. Wounds of worthiness and self-love connected to long-term love, connected to love and long-term love, romance, sexuality, friendship, and worthiness. That's a lesson for every one of you Aries in that window of time with this T square becoming slightly activated. Well, Taurus, you're going to be the next in line. So get ready, get set. I mean, the last time this happened would have been 1977, at about 7 years. So into the mid 80s. And so this is a time for you, depending on your age, right? You might have lived through it. You might not have lived through it, but it is definitely going to try you. And I'm just not going to, like, the whole new thing that you're coming into. You're letting go of having gone through a very deep place with the Chironic wound in the 12th house. And whether you're aware of it or not, you were kind of working on the wounds of the unbelonging, the mother wounds, the purpose wounds, but connected to prior lives or deep unconscious parts of your being. And in many ways, you might not even know what was hell was going on. It depends on if you're a meditator or you see a therapist or you do hypnosis, or you know what I mean. Depends on how much of your life you're actually aware of, because that's a really hard place to access without conscious intent. It requires solitude and introspection. But I guess I'd say you might have gotten there. You might have figured it out. And if you did figure it out, then you probably came through with some deep insights into your ancestral line, your past lives and shit like that. And also how that has really been a part of your unconscious programming. And a lot of you might have let it go. And what do I mean by let it go? I mean, like, I don't know, soul work, shamanic retrievals, deep dives into spiritual and spirituality, and also spiritual awakening. But it's where you're your own worst enemy. So if you had addictions and self-undoing, and sometimes we inherit those patterns from our family, you were working on it. You weren't just going to let it go. You were like, I got to get rid of this problem. What am I doing with this addiction? For God's sakes, I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I don't need this stuff. So, or your own worst enemy, you keep sabotaging your life and doing the same old thing over and over again. You know, that definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Well, that would have been one of the things you were kind of hopefully working through. And now you're done. Like, you're coming to the end. You're coming to the close. Well, not completely. You're going to do the final healing, if you haven't done it yet, on all of the things I just talked about in September 17th through to April of next year. That's your last Aries gasp. You're going to head towards new stories now. You're talking about you, your own essence. If this is a Taurus rising, your newest journey will be, who am I? What's my existential truth? I mean, geez, do I belong on this planet? And I don't really like my avatar. It doesn't fit me anymore. This character in the simulation that I'm playing, can I like renegotiate the script? Can we do a script redoctor? Can we doctor the script, guys? I don't like this character that I was assigned. So a lot of times you're going to do a lot of deep diving into changing your character in the simulation so that you don't have to play a role that you're not at all interested in. And it's sort of like the actor gets cast in a role, and once they get into the movie, they realize they don't like the character anymore, or they really don't feel into the character. So you're not going to get into your character anymore. You're going to get out of your character. I know your character could be, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a whatever. Like, these are character roles as well. You don't have to hold on to that character anymore. I promise I'm going to get comfy. It's autism as well. So I do have, wiggly body syndrome. This chironic wound for you, Taurus sun, is like I just talked to the Aries people about. Aries suns had it before you. It's like, where's my purpose? Am I on purpose? Do I have a special talent or gift I'm here to give the world? How come I can't feel purposeful? I don't feel the vibe. I'm not getting with the vibe of purpose and meaning in my life. And where am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to be doing it? That will be a bit of a nag for you. You're just going to test the waters of that question mark and look for the answers this summer. Yes, you are, on June 20th to September 17th. And then you're going to dive back in and really test it next April, add 7 years. Please, hopefully you watch the intro. As the Ingress is starting up on the 20th, you might feel that there's a lot of tension here for you to do with home, property, land, real estate, career, reputation, and a really gritty vibe. Sometimes it could be obsessive and compulsive and betrayals and darker things to do with love in the home, but vis-a-vis the 10th house, your reputation as well. It could also just be literally issues to do with your home and connected to financial matters and debts and property and land, and a real gritty tension here on June the 20th until September the 17th. The flow to Varda is in your 9th house. Varda is like this beautiful star goddess up in the top of the sky there, flowing to you. It could ask you to maybe move to another country, move to a far off place, journey to your purpose, take a course, want to educate yourself, want to just find a deep significance to your life, want to find a guide, mentor, or healer that can help you, one who you can reach to in your time of darkness. And with the energy of Sila Nunam, the Earth Mother Sky God combination in the 5th house, if you want, you're looking for a long-term love relationship, it's the weirdest one to say that it could happen, but it could happen, so this could bring you a love story for somebody in a distant shore or far off land, especially with Saturn in your 12th house. But I'm not telling you everybody where they are, but just trust me on that. So some of you might move. This is very much like, do you need to move? And if you do move, why? And you may move for meaning, purpose, love. You might even move for a job opportunity. But you're only testing something here, right? It's June 20th to September 17th. You want to see what this feels like, because you're really not diving into the full story until next April of 27 until 2035. Okay. And I am going to find another more comfortable way to do this. I shall return. All right. I'm back. We're hitting Gemini next. Sorry, guys. Like, it's comfort. I can't wait to move to my new place and have a recording studio, not in my living room. I have an extra room, and I'll be able to make one place my office and find a comfortable setup where I'm not like your wiggly astrologer, which is what I am right now. And Taurus, that's what I got for you. We're moving on to, this is a preview of the big Chiron story coming up. So let's go ahead and talk about Gemini. I am slightly one of you. This is for sun, moon, and rising. You don't forget, your sun is your true self, right? Your Chiron, your rising sun is your avatar. So Geminis, the vibe that you got going and we've got going here, I get it. I'm part of the crew. Is that we feel like, the old story, the Chironic wound in that 11th house since 2019, it's coming to its close. It really has a lot to do with not belonging to the groups of friends in which we connect. Sometimes we can have a non-belonging to our way that we make money and our gains of our career, but more often it's a social setting, social house. It has to do with, our tribe, our chosen tribe, our groups of belonging, our friends that we consider, the family we choose. And sometimes it's our social networks in general, right? People who want to help us, who can be benefactors and allies in the schmooziness of that house. And it also represents long-range goals, visions, and plans we have for our own lives. So that's a wounded place. And, I remember during the pandemic with my progressed Gemini sun, I can relate because I didn't get the unnecessary and ineffective treatment, and I was ostracized and cut out. And then I also got single and didn't have a husband. And then I was never invited to parties anymore because people want couples. So like suddenly I was an outcast. So things like that. So go back and reflect, Gemini, where have you felt like a bit of a social outcast and you don't belong to where you whom you hung with anymore. And you might have outgrown your friends, you're going sober and they're a bunch of booze hounds or something. So there's a feeling of no longer fitting in with social groups. Tell me in the comments if that resonates for some of you Geminis. You would have been feeling that beginning in 2019, and it's kind of concluding now, although you'll have a retesting of that last lesson, final grand finale, right? September 17th to April of next year. This is the break. Whew. Chiron in your 12th house, elimination of the old problem, in comes something new. So watch for how you feel on June 20th of this year until September 17th, as you're testing something especially different here to do with your self-undoing, addictions, patterns and habits, karma, ancestral line stuff. Now, a chironic wound in the 12th house can be deep, profound spiritual wounds because this is a spiritual moksha liberation house. And so this is the very big energy for you. And, you might want to talk to someone who's gone through this before, who's lived through Chiron in their own 12th house for tips and advice. And that will be your Taurus folk, right? Most people aren't going to get spiritually liberated off of Chiron in their 12th house, but they're going to see where the wounds are around the lack of spiritual awakened awareness. Okay. It's going to like scrub the dirt out of the wound there. Partly Chiron here could be wounds to do with distant shores and lands and people who live there. Wounds connected to big animals like giraffes and elephants. It sounds crazy, but maybe you're a zookeeper. Or you deal with large, including horses, wounds with horses. And maybe, you could be chironically wounded by your animal, your beautiful big animal, getting ready to pass. But there's a feeling there. Chironic wounds in the 12th house are subtle, spiritual, psychological, psycho-spiritual, past lives and ancestral line connected. And of course, you could get into self-undoing bad habits and patterns. You could have to work with your own addictive habits and really begin to look at healing that for once and for all. And Chiron, as he enters into the story, immediately kind of squares off with Venus and Pluto. Not exact, but it's still there. And it kind of makes me wonder if you're going to have to deal with some deeper wounds with siblings in general, a sibling too older, one younger, or siblings in general. Another archetype of the axis of the 3rd and the 9th is writing, learning, teaching, publishing. There's something there for you. Like, where do you have to really face something that has been wounded for you in that part of the sky? Well, for me, I think I'm really a writer, probably a fiction writer. And boy, is that feeling wounded that I haven't gotten around to getting any of that done. I am an award-winning fiction writer, but I mean, I veered so far away from that path I took in my 20s. You could find yourself noticing that the beautiful flow from Varda, the lady of the stars and the luminous white and blue of her being over here, like a Fatima moment here, is deep because it also connects to the Earth Mother and the God of the sky. And what we get here in this triangle is a beautiful Earth trine. And even though there are challenges going on collectively and individually, there's a chance that June 20th to September the 17th cracks you open spiritually, liberates you from your ancestral wounds, shines a bright, beautiful bit of starlight into the house of the deepest occult mysteries that you're capable of accessing. And honestly, Chiron can be a shaman, a guide, a healer. He can be a person. And the 12th house is a distant shore. So maybe some of you may encounter a shaman, a guide, a healer from another country, another land, a far off place. And should that happen, this person, June 20th to September 17th, has a strong impact on you, a strong way of shifting your awareness and opening you up to something quite profound. Okay. So keep that in mind. And if you don't have a shaman guide teacher coming your way this June 20th to September 17th, there may be some thunder, lightning, sky god, earth mother energy flowing here that opens up the possibility of some financial liberation. I mean, in your darkest financial hour, what could come through for you. And if it does, it could involve land, property, real estate, or hospitals. So I'm just going to leave you with those words: land, property, real estate, or hospitals, and some financial relief from benevolent Varda. She is benevolent. See, Mars will be here in the end of Taurus when this ingress happens, and he's far away from Chiron, okay? But he does rule your house of debts and indebtedness. So there's a possibility of debt relief or financial relief or something similar wanting to emerge here. And there's also money in the 12th house. It's kind of like international monies. So there's something good trying to happen in an Earth trine that, although it's mostly a spiritual liberation trine, it also connects and psychological healing and ancestral healing and past life healing. It does connect a little bit to some positive money vibes as well. So you're looking at that. Don't forget, you're going to be living with Chiron in your 12th house a whole long time. This is just the first taste of it. When it comes back in April, I'll be doing a deeper dive into the final sky story. This is just what you experience these 3 months ahead: June, right? July, August to September 17th. All right. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Vibing into whiplash, vibing into the energy of the sky. Tell me all about the wound of purpose and career, because Chiron or your reputation, feeling like embarrassed or having a bad reputation happen. But the Chironic wound for Cancer, sun, moon, and rising, especially rising, has been a career story. And Cancer sun. And it may have put you in a condition where you can't believe that, you survived. You're like, oh my God, that was hard. Or wounds with father figures, or wound with authority figures and bosses and stuff. And now you're on the other side of that. Hallelujah. Now you can almost look back and dust off from it. Sometimes Chiron in the 10th house means you wanted to move into a professional capacity as a healer, and you took up learning or study or whatever and became known as a healer, guide, teacher, shaman. Those are good words for Chiron. But otherwise, you were definitely working a lot in connecting your purpose to your manifest professional life, and trying to find your original medicine for the world. And some of it might have been a bit of a bumpy ride. You might have had to stop and start, abandon something, go for it, and go back and try something different. Your reputation might have felt shattered at some point. I have a Cancer rising client / person I know whose marriage disintegrated very publicly and very embarrassingly, and very, like a very public relationship became a disaster ending for her, where she felt like her reputation was ruined in the whole debacle. So there's possibilities since 2019, some of you went through something similar. Now that's over, more or less. And you're going to notice that June 20th to September 17th, the testing of the Taurus story. Go to the intro to learn all the dates, right? But that testing of the story is the new story. And talk to somebody who's lived through it before. I always say this, I sound like a broken record, right? But you're having a Chironic transit through the house of groups of belonging and the groups of friendship circles. And you're not the first person to go through it. The Geminis did it just before you. The Gemini sun, moon, and rising lived through a wound in friendship groups, a wound with a sibling one older. I should have mentioned that if you have a sibling one older, wounds with your benefactors and people who want to help you and allies, then like not stepping up to the plate. And you might be coming to a time of woundedness around your long range goals and dreams. You had these big plans and these big visions, and you had all your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan all figured out. And something kiboshed that. So the Geminis know the story before you. They've lived through it. They're good pieces of advice if you want to talk with them, ask them for help. How'd you deal? How was it for you? With Chiron here in the 11th house, there's a possibility that the way in which you make money, like the greater gains of your career and the way in which you receive benefits from being in a professional direction, feel wounded. And then wounded can mean it's just not on purpose. I'm making a lot of money, or I'm getting all this riches and fame or influence, but it doesn't feel like I'm actually on my purpose. And if you start to feel that feeling, and you haven't felt it before, but you start to notice it June the 20th through to September 17th, well, it's coming back for you next April. Add 7 years. So you better pay attention to the early bird canary in the coal mine feeling that the way you're making professional gains may not literally be on purpose, and you might want to rethink what you're doing, right? Livelihood wise. And there's an immediate square to Venus and to Pluto. Oh no. Yes, there's tension in your money axis. It's like, oh, your earnings, your taxes, your investments, your shared money with in-laws or spouse, and your own personal savings and earnings as well. And there's just this, and the wound can involve a sibling one older, or just friends, or just a wound. And it maybe you'll have to go through a little bit of a time, June 20th to September 17th, coping with that wound. But I do want to say I love this because Chiron and Sila, Nunam, and Varda are flowing through your 11, 3, and 7 houses. This is a beautiful luminous energy that could, especially with Varda in the 7th, could open you up to a healing energy in a long-term marriage relationship, especially if you and your partner want to travel, where we have the sky god and goddess sitting. Transformation in your life around things that you've been trying to create or work on creatively or artistically, especially involving writing and writing projects. Maybe that's going to show you something very different than you've seen before. You might have some luck in publishing, writing, and communicating, almost like thunder and lightning. Your things are working out like in a cool way. And I like this like luminous goddess here, the star creator of the stars here. And in our darkest hour, we reach out to her. There may be not even just a marriage renewal, but somebody else in your life showing up, because anybody can show up in the 7th house is going to be important to you. So I'm not sure who it is and what it is. It would be ruled by Saturn sitting in your 10th house, so an authority figure, but some important person may enter your life who feels to you like a star goddess, like a lady of the stars, like somebody who's really going to help direct you. And I'm going to say give you hope to carry on, but it's kind of that vibe. All right. And if you've been going through any kind of difficulties with siblings in general, or marriage partners in general, there's a new kind of solution, healing, and flow emerging in that story. In particular, a sibling one younger, sibling one older, a sibling 3 younger, and a 3 older, all very activated for you, and a healing energy on June 20th to September the 17th. My Cancer rising sister and I, we have another sister we're trying to get together with this summer and make a trip happen. But there's so many obstacles in our way. She lives in the United States. This could just show you that starting, you'll see June 20th to September 17th, we'll see the Cancer sister and I, a healing of this conundrum that we're in about how to get 3 sisters across borders together. There's a lot of backstory I'm not going to give here to do with health issues. All right. That's what I got for you. Don't forget, next April to 2035, you're going to really learn the lessons of Chiron in your 11th house. And by the way, it's not a bed of roses, right? Like, it's going to have its own challenges. It's going to not be easy, because as my progressed Gemini sun saw, I lost 2 friends to death during this transit of Chiron in my house of friends. But the nectar, or the sweetness, or the gifts, or the transmutation of the pain is a part of the process, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, we're moving into the Leo story. Sun, moon, and rising sign Leo. Got to call my chiropractor. A bus almost hit the car. Someone else was driving. A bus almost hit the car. We had a hard break, but I had my head down and was reading. So yeah, I got a little bit of that whiplash going today. It's mostly muscular. I don't think it's spinal, but everything's seized up. Moving on to Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. The chironic wound behind you in your 9th house since 2019 may have felt like you really were looking hard for purpose. You could have had other kinds of wounds, like a father figure wound, a court case wound, a wound with education, higher education, studying the wrong thing, not enjoying it, not finishing college or something. Could have had wounds around foreign people who wounded you, or foreign situations. But ultimately, including lawsuits, I guess, ultimately, though, that wound's path is behind you and you're moving into a new story. And the ninth house wound is funny because it's about dharma and purpose, and Chiron is the same archetype in many ways. So there's a healing of deep, deep levels that's behind you and almost complete about aligning with one's life's mission. Now, Chiron in the ninth house can be international healers, teachers, and shamans, guides who have come your way outside the country from which you hail in order to give you direction, guidance, and healing. So you might have gone through that already, and learned how to connect to that deeper guidance and healing that other people had for you, including shamans, even. Off to Peru, study with the shamans. Then you move Chiron into your 10th house where he's going to be just testing the waters, June 20th to September 17th, back full time next April at 7 years. And now your new story is the 10th house of career, profession, success in the eyes of the world. High noon at the OK Corral, your reputation is here. And also your social standing, married, divorced, widowed, weddings, funerals, wakes, christenings, rites of passage in the public eye, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, all of that good stuff. So the wound is up here. It's not really here. It's just testing you right now, but it comes in pretty hard because it squares Pluto in your marriage house and Venus in your own, like, I'm beautiful, I'm great, I'm Venus. Right now, she's traveling through Leo at the time of the ingress. So there's going to be some turbulence on June 20th to September 17th if you're in a significant relationship. Now, it's not by any means a death of the relationship, but there can be some turbulence here. I don't know what it is, but I can see it. And unfortunately, Pluto opposite Venus is always that, especially on the axis of I, self and other, it's always that darker stuff like betrayal, compulsion, obsession, jealousy. And so look for this to show up, and you might be wounded in your reputation as well, meaning maybe there's some public disclosure of an infidelity or something awful like that. And you're just feeling like you want to hide from the public. This is like not an easy time for you. June 20th to September 17th. And not all of you will feel it this way by any means. This could be a bad troll or a stalker or an obsessive person in the office going after you, but it won't last. But it is here. It's in the ingress, so it bakes in a June 20th to September 17th vibe, okay? The other thing is that I can see people asking me all the way through this, well, it's only for the day. How is it lasting 3 months? Oh, I should have explained it in the beginning. The flow between houses 2, 6, and 10 are Arta houses for wealth, money, prosperity, material security, professional success, job, and work stuff. All very positive. This is also a good story then. June 20th, through to September 17th, you're baking in this vibe of a beautiful energy, professionally, a flow, even with the wound there, something wants to flow. And you got a star goddess who created the stars, Varda, the elf queen energy in your 6th house. So there could be something where there's almost like a lofty, sublime, positive queen that wants to benefit you in your work routines, your work habits, even your health. Chiron could be the expert authority that it fixes a health problem for you on June 20th to September 17th. And we do want to love up the Earth Mother Sky God combination, Sila Nunam, in your 2nd house, which is really to say there's a real positive energy of, breathing creation and life into something professionally that's also creating money for you. Some of you, I don't know if you work in a healing field, but if you don't yet, you could be moving into a healing field as a livelihood under this kind of sky. But it looks like there's something good going on in the work, money, career front, although you're still working with some wounds to like align with purpose over the next few years, but you're getting a taste of a positive energy to start you out. All right. So if you get a new job and you start working there this summer, pay attention to what you're learning in that new job or that new career or a new source of income. Something is trying to teach you something here, because you want to try to carry that vibe forward next April at 7 years. You're touching down on a preview of a longer story. All right. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is your Chironic initiation, testing of new Chiron waters. But first, want you to go back to what you lived through. You had Chiron transiting a deep, dark place in your chart. of shame, betrayal, abandonment, psychological wounds, wounds around inheritance money, shared resources, in-law monies, wounds around your psychological, psycho-spiritual, and karmic matters. Now, wounds around your occult abilities. I used to be able to see the future and I lost my ability. That's my daughter says that to me all the time. Virgo rising. You are wounded, have been wounded in your 8th house. It opens up wounds with your ancestors, your father, mother, your relationship growing up. It opens up the wounds of past lives. It opens up addictions and self-undoing wounds. You've been going through all of that and you're not quite done yet, right? You got to come back to finish the last gasp, September 17th to next April. But in the meantime, you're having a taste of something new this summer, June 20th to September 17th. We have a Chironic story opening up what's going to be a 7-year story beginning next spring. And it's just testing the waters or the earth. Some of you are going to go back to school. Why? Because Chiron is well, first of all, if you're young, like you're in your 20s or late teens, Chironic energy here could wound you. Be very cautious about what you choose to study. You might find yourself wondering why you chose it and spent any kind of money in college or higher education, right? You could have wounds there, but you want to talk to people who've lived through it already. Oh my God. And they can give you some advice, and that would be the Leos who've already lived through this. This is another reason I'm moving. I don't know if you can hear that. I've got my mic on high block. The mic is in high block, but I have all the windows open because it's no air conditioning and it's hot. In Vancouver, Canada on May 4th, it's unusually hot. And I am moving to a quiet neighborhood at the end of this month. Someone deliver me. So, sorry about that, guys. It's the Scorpio full moon has been full of sirens. It's been really bad. I haven't seen a Scorpio full moon this noisy ever. The werewolves came out and people are howling. Let's get back to you. That could be a signal for you. You got Venus in the house of hospitals, Pluto across the way, squaring Chiron. Well, if anything, I'd be talking father figures, right? Chiron in the house of can be a house of father figures. Venus rules it. And it's possible there's going to be a critical turning point for you with the illness of somebody older than you, male or masculine, maybe, right? More likely than not, but it doesn't have to be. And they're in a hospital setting. I'm just going to make stuff up because it's like, what else can you do with this, right? I have to tell the truth. And so, yeah. So, and it could also be a hospital setting for a marriage partner type, but they have to be like a father figure to you, significant age difference, like old enough that you can look up to them, right? And there may be a big crisis with them. And it may be felt June 20th to September 17th in the life of that person in your life. Otherwise, a big turning point crunch around addictions, health, self-undoing, and then Chiron, guides, mentors, and teachers. So if you're in a sobriety program or a healing program on addictions or something like that, major shifts here, major crunchy issues around international travel kind of lobbed at you that feel wounded. You can't take that trip after all. Boo-hoo me, I can't go. But it's probably for the best, especially if the trip is international and involved females or romantic long-term partners. I think that trip might end up being wounded, meaning changed or canceled. Anyway, you're going to see that as a potential June 20th to September 17th. The good news story is that you have that Chironic energy flowing to the sky god Earth Mother in your sign. You are like holding the space between heaven and earth. You are the conduit. You are the lightning rod of something that Chiron's trying to deliver to you. Guidance, purpose, meaning, true meaning. It could come through a guide, mentor, shaman, or teacher. You may feel it to be true. June 20th to September 19th. At the same time, your 5th house is lit. These are Dharma houses. And this is your house of alignment with your natural talents and gifts, where you have the sky goddess of the stars, Varda, the elf queen, sublime and lofty, reaching to her in your darkest hours, luminous, bright light being, Snow White. What is it? I don't know. Is there a natural gift and talent that you have that you were born to express? Are you going to go back to school to deepen it or learn? Are you feeling an urge to do that? Are you leaning into purpose with almost a kind of lightning rod in which you're just channeling that purpose through you? And it's a testing of something because it's a flavor of something. It's not the big story. That's not until next April. add 7 years, but you're getting a flavor of it. Some of you might want to educate because Mars is with Chiron at the end of Taurus at the time of this ingress. And for some of you, it can definitely look like you're going to, it doesn't have to be higher education. It could be going to a vocational school, college, or learning a trade. But I think some of you are going to get a flare of understanding that there's something you want to learn in order to do something different in what we would call vocation, profession, or purpose and meaning. And so really lean into listening for the answer there and seeing if you could get the result you're looking for. A slight possibility of pregnancy that you didn't plan. Okay. Slight possibility, not a lot, but a slight. Just because there's sort of like a god of the sky, which reminds me of Uranus in your sign, flowing to Varda in the house of conception, your 5th house. So unexpected fertility moments for you and a partner could emerge this summer, June 20th to September 17th. That won't be true for every one of you, only for some of you. I don't even know how many of you are of childbearing age, for goodness sakes. All righty, that's what we got. I need to now readjust myself again. Apparently, if you're autistic, you have this issue with your, like, I have super flexible limbs, right? Like I can do weird shit with my flexibility, right? Like double jointed vibe almost. But yeah. And so, yeah. And then we have like a lack of core stability, I've learned. And I'm always trying to wiggle. I never sit on a chair ever without my legs up somehow. So sorry, bear with me. It's TMI. You don't need to know this. I don't know why I'm telling you. Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Chiron. Chiron is, your number one news story coming into Taurus after 9 years in Aries. Go back to way back in a time travel machine to 2019 February. And here you've had a Chironic wound in the house of long-term committed business partnerships and love partnerships. And you may have attracted wounded partners, right? The person who needs your help, the wounded bird. This is a story that you've been working on, and it's a wound to the archetype of committed long-term marriage, love, and or business partner alignments. Other people may have been wounded, or the relationship felt wounding. Whichever way, it's still the same vibe. And if you go back and take an inventory, I got a couple of horrible Libra stories from Libra friends and fam and people where they really, really were wounded by relationships. One Libra person got involved with a crazy bitch, let's just call it that, and she basically accused him of being a graper, and that's not true at all. That wasn't true. She was angry that he didn't want to be with her. So there's like these darker stories that happen, and I know that to be not have been true. So if you're a Libra, you live to tell the tale. You're trying to heal some kind of deep medicine about what you value in yourself vis-a-vis other people and long-term love, and how you could honor yourself without over functioning to fix another person. And those lessons are kind of the thing you've been working on. And you're like, you got a new standard by the end of this. It's not completely done. I mean, September 17th to April of next year, you got your last wounded healing in the house of significant long-term love to finish with. Okay. But now you're moving into 8th house wounds, and, other people have done it before you. So you can always go talk to the Virgos who've lived through this already, and kind of going to go into a deep place to do with your past lives and your karma and your ancestral line and your addictions and your self-undoing and your escapist tendencies. Chironic wounds about inheritance monies and shared resources with a spouse and the in-law monies, and Chironic woundedness and wounds of shame, betrayal, and abandonment. You're going deep, right? Again, go chat with a Virgo who's lived through it. You're now doing soul work, moksha, spiritual liberation, deep dives for the next 7 years, starting next April. So this is a testing of the waters. First thing you do is butt up against Pluto, Venus. This is like grinding. This is like, okay, is this a sexual betrayal wound? Is this a jealousy wound? Is this a wound with a female friend or a group of friendship circles? Is this a wound in your house of friends and belonging? Is this a wound around your children? Is this a wound around romantic love? Is there betrayal, like romance, friends, betrayals, shame, secrets? This is such it's a window of time. It really feels very active June 20th, but it can bleed through to September 17th. Underneath a Chironic wound in the 8th house is a deeper search for letting go of one's egoic identity, because it's the liberation from egoic structures. And so sometimes life has to tear down the ego in order to and dissolve it, or remove the petrified structures of the ego. so that, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in, right? Leonard Cohen. And that crack in everything to let the light in can be the shattering of your egoic identity through shame and betrayal and abandonment wounds. And some of this story may be obvious for you already this summer, June 20th to September 17th, including wounds with your children. Now, likely adult children. And then the good news is houses 12, 4, and 8 are lit up with sky gods, Sila Nunam, sky earth mother goddess, earth and father and earth mother, and then father, sky, earth mother energy. And then, of course, Varda, this sort of celestial, luminous Mother Mary or something energy in the 4th house. And because where this is lighting up, houses 8, 12, and 4, think of ancestral healing, childhood wounds healed, beautiful energy regarding turnarounds and new creation in the deepest part of you that is not even connected to this realm, the oversoul, the higher self, engaging in constructive reformulation of the basic karmic and ancestral patterns that have held you back. In other words, it's not necessarily shattering them, because there's so much beauty in Varda here, the lofty, sublime one you call out in darkness for help in your time of darkness. But there's a recalibration of an undergirded kind of operating system you didn't know was there. Like, we take on our childhood or past life stuff without even knowing we're living it. It's like it's a script. It's hidden from our view, a malware in the background. And I think this malware is being healed and revealed to you on June the 20th. Like, I never give up no matter what my child is to me. I'll never quit this relationship because I'll stick in there. But is that the thing you really need or want? Or is there something better for you? With Mars sitting with Chiron at the time of the ingress in the same sign, I didn't draw it in, but just trust me. There's a lot going on. Mars does exalt your 4th house. And Mars also rules the marriage house. Some of you are dealing with that, still a hangover, but this time healing that wound of committed love. And when you have a wound, Libra, and committed love, 9 out of 10 times you put too much into love. You give too much and you're not receiving enough. You guys are like always off skew in balance. Very likely that wound is also receiving a turnaround healing this summer. And it's still okay to help the one you love. It's okay to let them help themselves as well and not put up with stuff. Because I know a lot of Libras just go along to get along. You don't want to upset that apple cart. But that pattern is breaking this summer on June the 20th to September the 17th. And that can include business partners and other kinds of relationships, not just committed love relationship. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. The energy is definitely something to consider from the rearview mirror perspective of the chironic wound that you've endured in your 6th house since 2019. Debts, work, pets, health, and wounds, loss of pets, health challenges, challenges with debts and indebtedness and having to pay off or down debts, and wounds around matters connected to pets. I said pets, your health, and home if you're renting, all right, rental property and landlord leasing stories, and wounds, especially if you rent as opposed to own. And so those are behind you. Most of you might have felt since 2019 that you've been dealing with a job that is way off purpose because it feels like a wound. And you've been trying to align with a career and purpose and money-making path. And you're not done. You might still have to work on that. September 17th to next April, the last retrograde ingress into Aries. But right now you're testing the new story of Chiron in your 7th house. So therefore, go talk to a Libra who's lived through it before. Ultimately, you're going to be tested in committed long-term love stories, business partnerships, and how you relate to your audience, clients, and marketplace, should that be relevant. The chironic wound here can be deep in a long-term love story because your partner seems wounded to you, or they're acting in ways that wound the union, and you're going to have to work on healing that. And sometimes it's not yours to do, it's theirs, because this is not your wound. It's over there in the house of someone else. It could also look like you're attracting shamans Chironic healers. Kairos is hands healers, Chiro. And so we're talking chiropractors, or maybe even Reiki or any other hands healers. And so you're going to be drawing them your way as significant people in your life. That's another positive way Chiron can show up there. So again, talk to Libras and ask if they brought those kinds of folk into their lives since 2019. When you first get Chiron's ingress on the 20th, and it's going to bake in the theme until September 17th, you're going to deal with a very tense energy of Pluto and Venus opposite each other in the 4th house. And although it's not exact, it's still like a throbbing headache in the background. What the hell is this? It's not the worst I've seen because of the degrees, but it's still there. Major tension between your career, your work, your reputation, and situations going on in your home life. And you're going to have to sort of usually filter it through someone else's problem. Is it your significant other, your business partner? Who is that Chironic figure? On the positive note, you have Varda, the lofty, sublime elven queen, creator of stars, in your 2nd house, lighting something up for you in a way that's very positive. Your 2nd house. Shit. In your 3rd house. I hope I didn't screw it up on the last one. I've lost it. I've lost the ingress. Oh, I cannot re-record this. I don't have energy. Thank God I didn't. Okay, so we're going to go ahead by a day just to lock and load, at least back a day. To lock and load the sky to look correct. I don't think I can do it though. Okay, well, I'm going to remind myself that Varda, although retrograde, is in Capricorn. As I go ahead and do the other signs, you won't see it properly. But there's nothing else I can do. Scorpios. I got Varda back there. That's good. So Varda in Capricorn, as Chiron is in your 7th house, indicates to me that you're going to experience something very powerful and very positive connected to writing, teaching, learning, communicating. Could be marketing and selling, traveling, short distance, June the 19th to September 20th, fortified by the Sila Nunam, god of the sky and earth. Mother Earth and Father Sky are up there, connected to your 11th house of great gains in your career, but also friends and groups of belonging. This looks like a journey somewhere. This looks like you want to travel with a significant other who's been slightly wounded, connected to friends, connected to siblings even. I see a trip. And it's a summer trip. And whatever it is, it's extremely healing. It helps you get in touch with your deeper desires, what you want to achieve in life, your longer goals and dreams and wishes. At the same time, it brings a kind of relief for, after a time of difficulty. And this journey that you could take like June 17th or so, June 20th, 19th, 20th, through until this journey that you could take through until about September 17th. Any of that could be a journey, a trip, going somewhere. It's very gorgeous. If you're an online social media beast, you're going to have something turn around here and look very good on you. All right. Where you're healing a wound about your audience not receiving your material properly or something like that. And Mars, your ruler, is with Chiron at the time of the ingress, trying his best to help you see another person's point of view. So a journey with friends or siblings and a significant other this summer, like around June 19th, 20th to the 17th, is extremely positive for you. All righty, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, what are you doing with this story? Well, first of all, you've lived through Chiron in your 5th house of sexuality, romantic love, fertility, conception, childbirth, children, your natural talents and gifts, creative projects, art, the muse, and entrepreneurial stories. That's your 5th house. Very busy. You've lived through the problem part of the phase of it all. It's kind of done, but you've got a little bit more to go. Yeah, September 17th-ish, 18th. To next April, you'll do a little last gasp in the last part of Aries, but a lot of you may have worked through this already. And sometimes it's really wounds around romance and love, the romantic love stories. And go back and consider since 2019 when Chiron entered here, if that's true, Scorpios lived through that already before you. So you can, no, Scorpios, my brain, whatever. My brain is so dead. It just like died on the vine. But anyway, Chiron with, yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? Yeah. Yeah. It was Scorpios who went through this before. So they might tell you about some of that stuff when Chiron was moving through. No, that's not right. I can't even. I think I'm sugarlowing on you guys. I think I'm sugarlowing. All right. No worries. Let's not talk about it. All right. So Sages, go back, talk about your love life. Tell me how it went. Where was the wound? Did you run into sexual trouble? Did you end up with like losers, betrayals? Did you end up with STDs? Did you end up with nothing where you're like stuck by yourself? And could you not find your creative spark or your artistic spark? Because that was Chiron moving through Aries. And you might have felt like, what the hell? If I thought I was creative, artistic, or entrepreneurial, I obviously lost my mojo, but you could have been disappointed in love and romance, right? Since 2019, like you had your hopes up, you thought you met your soulmate, you had a dreamy-eyed look at it all, you thought you knew this, you got this is my thing, and it wasn't. It didn't show up the way you wanted. It wasn't true, and so the disappointments that you might have gotten there, that's going to be behind you now, right? That's like, okay, this is coming to the end. And with Chiron in your sixth house, you're really looking at wounds of Chironic, wounds of work. That's what I'm trying to say. And to understand the wounds of work and health and pets and tenancy and rental agreements, you must consult with a Scorpio. That's what I meant to say, because they've lived through it already. And with Chiron here, bucking up against Venus and Pluto in a loose but still there T Square, loose but there. I wonder if you're going to have some moments of crisis with siblings over legal matters, or a sibling two older and one younger, and some crisis moment, or some crisis in moment when it comes to neighbors in the local neighborhood, or a crisis moment with travel, or especially long distance, or a crisis moment with a female spirit, a female teacher. Crisis moments look like they're happening. And it's kind of running the summer, right? June 19th, 20th to September 17th. And possibly you might be looking also at the vibe here with Mars's involvement with Chiron of legal matters that revolve around finances, okay? Family of origin, inheritances, spousal separation, monies, debts, indebtedness, and who owes who what. Okay, who owes who what. That could be a story that it dominates June 19th to September 17th. Long-term stories, Chiron here will be here, to 2035. But this summer, you might get a testing with the health of a pet, a testing with rental property situations that are difficult, a Chironic wound testing with your own health, especially your neck and shoulders. You're the bull. Chironic wounds connected to debts. You thought it had it all squared away and you had all your financial debts in a row, debt ducks in a row, and there's a loose end that you didn't notice and you have to deal with it. So pay attention to that this summer. Then we have the next story. We have the story of the beautiful flow on the earth plane of Varda and Sila Nunam and Chiron in houses 2 and 6 and 10. Arta houses of financial resources, work, career, purpose, money, earnings, and savings, all lined up in job. Now, potentially because you have the sky god in the top of the sky creating something for you with the earth mother, as well as you have Varda in a money house for financial resources, and in your darkest hour, you can call on her for help. This could be like almost a beautiful healing around purpose, money, resources, and finances. Okay. More likely connected to purpose and career matters than anything, but I wouldn't put it past the sky to give you some other versions of financial security or healing as well. I can't promise you a rose garden on how it shows up, but it's almost like you pray to Mother Mary and she lobs you a healing of some kind financially. Okay. And whatever it is, it is. I don't know what it is. Could even be um, like pennies from heaven, a moment of grace financially, an easier way than you ever imagined possible opens up for you. It could even be a job. All right. And if you have any problems with your health, seek a chironic healer, someone who uses their hands, Reiki, Jo Ray, chiropractic, even acupuncturists, right? That's chironic healers. And you could solve a health challenge that way if it occurs June 19th to September 17th. And that will be true for you, of course. Next April, add 7 years. This is longer than I thought for a preview video. Goodness gracious, maybe it isn't a preview. Maybe it's the real deal. I am long-winded. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. Oh, you are going to leave the chironic wound of belonging to a place to live. Ever since 2019, most Cappies are going like, what the hell? Where am I supposed to live in this world? Where do I belong? Is this my true home? Are you my home? Now, you might even had a home and it never changed, but you didn't belong. You didn't feel like you fit in. You felt something wounded about where you lived, the neighborhood, the people, the city, the town, or the people you lived with just wasn't sticking the landing, was it? So you're kind of going now, this has been an or fucking deal, and I got to get into a new direction. However, you're not quite ready to heal it fully. You have to go back and attend to matters this September 7th and 18th through to next April. You have to finish loose ends there. But you're getting a breather this summer. So June 20th to September 17th, you have a breather from that wound. And there might be a sense of, oh, good fortune is arriving on my doorstep, says Chiron. I'm in the house of good fortune. Yeah, sort of. But Chiron in the 5th house can be romance wounds, wounds with your children, wounds with your sex life, wounds with your sexuality. And that could start to really open up new doors of investigation. Wounds with the ability to use your natural gifts and talents in the world in a purposeful, meaningful, dharmic way. These are new considerations that become Capricornian, okay? And you feel the testing of that new story of preview, foreshadow on June the 19th, 20th through to September 17th. You're going to go back and really dig in next spring, next April, add 7 years. The chironic transit through here did happen before. I talked about it earlier, back in like 1977 to about 1985. So you've been through this before if you're old enough to remember that time. A child could be wounded. I don't mean like with a knife or something. I mean, they go through a difficult period of time and a child and woundedness. This would speak more likely a firstborn, but I can't say that's necessarily true. And it doesn't mean that they're wounded personally, but they're having a time in which they feel wounded by life circumstances. Okay. All right. So that's a possibility that's not even about you this summer. You're bumping straight away into Venus in the 8th house and Pluto in the 2nd, which is money houses. But also Venus is in a sexual intimacy house as well. So sexual intimacy wounds or healing want to happen June the 20th to September 17th, especially around romantic and dating level love. And even wounds with friendships connected to sexuality, because Mars is in your 5th house ruling the 11th. And the Pluto story, Pluto, a money god in a wealth god in a money house, Venus, a money goddess in a money house. There are some wounds here financially for you. It can have to do with inheritances. It can involve money connected to family of origin, people you live with, including siblings. There may be a feeling like a pivotal turning point around the wounds of money and resources, and a temporary feeling you've got a handle on healing it, especially if there are childhood wounds around those money stories because of Mars with Chiron on the Ingress, which isn't drawn there, but Mars is in later Taurus. And with this, in my darkest hour, we call upon the Lady of the Stars, the luminous Varda, Queen of the Elves, flowing beautifully to the sky god and the earth mother in the 9th house, flowing to Chiron? Well, number one, it's all about your purpose. It's all very dharmic. Why are you here? What's the significance of life? How do you align your talents and gifts in a meaningful way, your talents especially? If you could do that, it's almost like the sky wants to open up something for you, right? It wants to open some doors for you. Not only about purpose, but about expression of talents and gifts that you enthusiastically are inspired to use in this world where Chiron is sitting. There may be an opening, an opportunity. There may be just something beautiful coming through because the Varda energy is with you. It's like you are like Varda, the creator of stars, and you are flowing to in the house of God, the sky god. Sila and Nunam is like Uranus and Gaia. The lightning strikes the earth and breathes life into creation. Feel like you want to create something brand new in terms of the word purpose. Something needs to be made brand new. You need to, like a god, create a new purpose in life. And Chiron is begging you to go in that direction. A lot of energy going through the sibling house of a sibling 2 older and a sibling 2 younger. And you in this beautiful flow energy, should you have siblings of those ages to consider. And last but not least, there may be something flowing to you to heal a chironic wound around sexual and romantic love. And it will connect you to themes of distant, like foreign lands, foreign people, and other countries. So if you're going to heal a wound of romantic love, it's going to come through a foreign person or you're journeying to a foreign place, okay, because of the sky and the 9th house activation. All right, that's what I have for Cappies. Let's keep going on and on. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Yes, I am one of you. What does it tell me here? It says we are dealing with the energy of Chiron finally leaving our 3rd house, writing, communicating, teaching, marketing, selling, social media, local neighborhood, childhood friends we had in our youth. I'll tell you a few stories, boy, oh boy. 2 of my bestie friends from very, very young ages died during Chiron's transit through my 3rd house. It was not easy. I also, I couldn't get my writing mojo at all. I lost all my writing mojo in 2019 when Chiron entered there and stopped writing. And I just started to get it back in the last year. And, I was chironically wounded with my neighbors and neighborhood, and I couldn't go anywhere because I didn't take the pandemic novel treatment, and I was outcast. And there's so many other things. So we all had, and I had chironic wounds with siblings. Siblings are your 3rd house. So the wounds there behind us, goodbye sibling wounds, bye travel wounds, bye neighbor wounds, bye wounds of your ideas, your communication, your social media wounds. I just call the trolls probably an ongoing grinding wound, like a festering wound. And, all of that. So Chiron moves out of that story and he moves into your 4th house. So you're trying to let go of the 3rd house lessons. You probably have mastered a lot of them. You're going to go back and reinvestigate them September the 18th to April for the last energy of Chiron in Aries. But right now you're on new frontiers to test run and pilot something different. And it's your 4th house. And it has to be Chiron in the house of the home. Now, a chironic wound here is very deep because it's childhood stuff. Wounds about your childhood are going to surface. Wounds about your feeling like you belong on planet Earth are going to surface. Wounds about feeling like you have a home in which you truly belong are going to surface. And wounds about your mom, especially, but family of origin in particular. Because Chiron enters here and immediately engages a square to Pluto and Venus, some of these childhood wounds are about marriage. They're about power and control, struggle, jealousy, possession, obsession, betrayals, committed long-term love. It doesn't mean you're going to be betrayed on June the 20th through to September the 17th. You're dredging up deep wounds, not just from your childhood, but from your ancestral line. So it's deep. Good news is Varda. Look at Varda. She's going to try to help heal the wound. And, the chironic wound in Taurus, Capricorns went through it since 2019. And some of them felt like they didn't belong in a home, like literally, but some of them had a stable home and they felt like everything was wrong inside of them. The childhood wounds were like festering. They couldn't be at home in their home wherever they lived. So it can be literal. Where do I live? Should I live? It can be deeper soul energy. Energy-wise, Varda in the 12th house of past lives and deep soul work and spiritual liberation. And the sky god of lightning who breathes life into Gaia's creations. This is like Uranus and Gaia. This is Sila and Nunam. This energy, what grows and what the gods create to grow. Look at that trine. That grand trine, if Earth trine, is in a spiritual liberation space. Really big energies want to break you from karmic patterns that have lasted lifetimes, sanskar, as they would be called. And, the sort of like the barnacles of those lives behind you, you want to peel them off and strip the barnacles off of you. So a lot of breaking free and a lot of deep healing. Varda, the lady of the elves, the queen of the elves, but she's lofty, sublime, and you call on her your darkest hour. Well, she's in your dream house, your 12. So you can have some profound spiritual shifts through your dreams, liberation from karmic shackles and ancestral patterns that really have held you back. Some of it may positively impact how you approach your occult abilities, your psychic powers. And also it could, even with Mars, with Chiron at the time, impact how you approach your career. Okay. The way you heal this not only changes your sense of where you belong to yourself within the home of I wrote a poem about this, about the turtle in the home, and it's back years ago. It's not even home is where the heart is. You are home base, right? You are home base. And there's an illumination of a spiritual truth that's available to you coming through the sky. But technically, it could activate also some major healings and changes of orientation toward how you approach your career as well. And Venus in the 7th house, it could actually be a female coming up this summer, June 20th to September 17th, and a wound around a female in your life. Could be a sibling 3 older, 3 younger, but it could also just be a female. And, Pluto, jealousy, betrayal, darker stories, and a sibling 3 younger in particular, right? And finally, your Pluto retrograde. You're going through some shadow work right now. He went retrograde around May the 5th, 6th, and you're going through some until I think October something. You're going into your own shadow work anyway right now. You're powerful. You're like evolutionarily propelled by greater forces than you. You're looking at your shadow anyway. Now it's some childhood work, shadow work, young sibling 2 younger work. And, technically a Venus figure in the 7th house might be a problem. There may be some really difficult situation with a female and it feels like very wounding to you at a deep level. It reminds you of some wounds from your childhood. You could be abandoned or betrayed by a female in your life. I don't care. Like, it doesn't have to be your marriage partner. All right. So watch for those vibes, That's what I have for you. And then we move next into the last but never least, best and always best, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Guys, I've been talking way too long. Please tell me I'm still recording. Praise the Lord, I am. Any Lord but Baal. Okay, praise any Lord but Baal. I'll take any Lord but Baal, the demiurge, Yaldabaoth. Let's choose all the good lords out there. I'll take Lord Jesus Christ. I'm fine with that one too. But I'm good with Krishna maybe and Buddha. We'll take them all. Pisces, only you get a preacher sermon. Sun, moon, and rising, mystic poets of the zodiac, Chiron, spent too long in your money house and your teeth and your face. Was it bad? Go back to 2019. Facial problems, teeth problems, food style problems, facial image problems, money problems, resources, earnings problems, pocketbook wallet problems since 2019, right? And that's coming to an end. You still have to tiptoe back into those waters to make sure they're tidied up and completely healed. Self-worth and self-value included. And you're going to tie those loose ends up. Yes, you are. And you're going to tie those loose ends up and you're going to finish up September 18th to next April. And then you're done. And your new story will be 7 years of Chiron till 2035 in your 3rd house. Now, Chiron has been in the 3rd house of Aquarians. I'm one of them. Go ask us how we dealt with it. Go listen to what I just said for myself, right? But you're coming into it. Sibling wounds. wounds with short distance travel, wounds with your neighbors and neighborhood, woundedness around your communication style, especially writing, maybe some social media wounds, woundedness around your educational stuff, learning and teaching, especially skill space. And so a little bit of woundedness could come here sometimes in the third house because it has a connection to the friends you made when you were young, kindergarten, elementary, and high school. And, you could lose a few of those friends. Something could happen to wound that friendship, really. So get ready for that story. Something you can do to stop it. And as we get into the third house wounds that you're about to sustain, to learn to transmute them into your superpowers, you notice that at the ingress, there's a broad square to Venus and Pluto. So it can be a big sibling wound for sure, connected to hospitals and health issues, right? So a sibling is going through a big challenge. That could be easily a true story here. This is more likely to activate a sibling one younger than you, but just siblings in general. There can be some challenges that are kind of crunchy and hard regarding property rentals, regarding debts and how much money is owed, especially if it's banks, finances, and credit cards. And you might have to heal a debt wound, right? A debt wound, and be working to heal it June 20th to September the 17th. Wounds around pets and their health, wounds around your own health. Now, your own health, if it has a wound, is going to be connected to maybe your cardiovascular system or your neck and shoulders or your cervical spine. And it could also open up a challenge for you to transmute and transform a kind of poison, health poison, into something different. Venus is trying to protect her health in the sixth house. She's good here, but she's squaring the chironic wound of some kind. So something's coming to light that was hidden about your health, thanks to medical tests, doctors, and hospitals. And Chiron can be the healer as well. The key in the door to healing doesn't have to be bad. Okay. Finding a solution to what ails you, finding a healing to the health challenge that ails you. Venus is sperm and ovum. Normally, I would say that, because of Leo, it's cardiovascular, but Venus could be things to do with the reproductive system under that rulership, especially with Mars and Chiron together. And Mars is ruling Scorpio, which is also the urogenital area. So some of you are looking at maybe some health crises or problems that you're having to face this summer, June 20th to September the 17th, but also to find the path to healing and solutions for the problem. Okay. And uncovering variables that were not known or seen before in order for healing to be effected. So you may go through a medical procedure. It may involve a medical institution or hospital setting. Okay. So there's that vibe here. Now, when I look at, and that's just this time, it doesn't happen to April of next year till 2035. This story is true. No, this is this summer. This is baked into the summer story. You're going to see something good trying to happen here. Varda, and the goddess of the stars and creator of stars, and you're having troubles, and she's in your time of darkness. She's there to help you. Connected to long-term committed love. This is friendships, groups of belonging, friends who want to support you in high places. The sky god and the earth mother are together in your marriage house. Thunder, lightning, right? What the hell? Chironic wound in the sibling house, but also in the short distance travel house. So wounded. Sometimes we get into long-term love relationships that have geographical distance, and that can be what I'm seeing. And there's a wounding around travel or distance and committed love. Also some wounds around your long-range goals and dreams and plans that you have for your life. And somehow it dovetails with the marriage house or the business partnership house. Especially if you're a social media person or entrepreneur, you could come into some real lovely flow this summer, June 20th to September 17th, to really lock and load a healing around other people supporting you to be successful. That includes a sibling one older, especially playing the Varda role, or all siblings in general. If you're in a relationship with somebody already, then something is trying to smooth out the edges here, right? So I smooth out the edges, and it could involve the healing smoothing is to do with travel. So if you want to travel June 20th to September 17th in connection with a committed long-term love and siblings and sibling one older and friends, all of those energies are important because it does speak to me of, it's funny enough, healing. Sometimes relationships domestically get really locked and loaded, and all you need is a getaway, right? Like a marriage getaway, a retreat with you and your partner, and siblings and friends and all of that, in order for you to reset some kind of button in your own life. All right. So, and going back to the money wound for you Pisces, and maybe facial wounds and health of the face or teeth. A lot of Pisces I know have had a lot of dental work out of the blue. Even my Pisces rising sister, who had perfect teeth all of her life, never even a cavity, suddenly had major dental work done this last couple of years with Chiron in her second. Let me know, Pisces, that happened to you. But when you go back to heal the last bit of this wound, right, and just look at this, because it is a money wound for you, you're going to go back and do the finishing touches. You're not starting from scratch. If you've probably made a lot of progress on this money front, for example, or teeth front, or whatever else it is, dietary habits front, and you're just finishing it up. These are finishing touches. This is not starting from scratch. So therefore, I'm not sentencing you to financial purgatory, but you're going to go back and finish it up. And that's going to be September the 18th to next April. All right. Now, I am so done. I'm going to go do some stretching, take a walk. I'm going to call my chiropractor and get an appointment from being sort of whiplash when the guy I'm driving with is like this. And I'll tell you an outro story, okay? I basically believe that we can do mitigations on the natal chart stories. And when you're looking at a really tough aspect like I am, I have, for my Aquarius rising, I have Mars in dignity, sure, with Saturn in fall in my house of vehicles and local travel. And that was a local travel accident. The guy I'm driving with, he was a good driver, but he had to slam the brakes on a bus, almost ran into us, literally pulls out in front of us. And we stopped suddenly. I was reading, we probably were moving 25, 30 miles an hour. I was looking down reading something because he was asking me to look at the listings. I was helping look for houses with him. And I literally my sunglasses went flying into the dash and hit the ground. So it was a lot of jerk. And I'm like, anyway, here's a story about that. It's healing. I know you don't believe me, but because I had Mars moving through my third house when I lived in Montreal back in 2020 for 6 months because of retrogradation. Someone totaled my car. Thank God I wasn't in it. They ran like a truck or something in my parked car, and it was completely totaled. That's the kind of thing that happens when Mars is in that house. He's very strong, but now it's fallen Saturn's accompanying him. So the point I'm trying to make is like a homeopathic remedy, just a dose of the bad, right? Instead of the full bad, which is Lori's in a hospital having life-saving surgery because I got in a multi-car high-speed pile up. I just got a fender bender that gave me a bit of a whiplash. So I can deal with that. So quite often we go, why me? Why me? Are you sure? Because maybe what happened is the lightest version that the universe could possibly deliver to you because you've been acting in alignment, paying attention to the synchronicities, leaning into generosity, kindness, trust, and love, and not being the gnarly resistor of life, where the universe could step in and say, you got a bit of a gnarly transit here, but we'll give you a lighter version. That's what I'm trying to get at. So instead of walking away from that going, why me? I said to myself, I reached out for my sister for a halo healing. That's a long story. You'll hear more about it later when Chiron moves into Taurus. But I also recognize I got off light. And because we use magic like that proactively, some people do use magic proactively, like they do. Okay. Like Donald Trump is in harm's way for real in the sky. And then on the day of the press dinner thing, the White House Correspondents' press dinner, the moon is on his ascendant, right? Activated by Uranus at the end of Taurus perfectly. 29 degrees Uranus up in his 10th house of reputation and public eye, and squaring the moon on his ascendant at 29 Leo. That's not an accident. That was manufactured. If you don't know that, sorry. And that's not, and by the way, it was manufactured magic to get him out of real harm's way by having a fake shooter. They can't find the bullets, can't find any bullet casings or anything. People heard a sound, but no one saw a shooting. really. There's footage of a guy running, then he's in the ground, but we don't see, well, apparently somebody had a bullet to his bulletproof vest. We'll believe that, I suppose. But it's a perfect manufactured version of something real that could have happened. You see what I'm saying? To take away the real by doing a fake version, the universe has fulfilled its menu, and the menu item has been fulfilled and does not need to be fulfilled again. And it's not a ballroom. It's not a ballroom, guys. It's not a ballroom. Do you think it's a ballroom? Go watch the Dre, what's her name? Something Dre, the Dre files, the Dre report on Substack or anywhere else. It's an underground facility with going to have the highest level possible of surveillance and technology, and of course can't be penetrated if something strikes it from above. So it's going to be a bunker with surveillance and high tech. It's going to be like a intelligence tech bunker center / whatever. And that's not true. It's built by somebody who's built that stuff for the Pentagon, right? And they even fired the architect and got somebody who was had done military installations. So if you think it's a ballroom and you don't know that it's really an underground facility with a ballroom on top, go do your research. It ain't a ballroom. So after the uneventful non-event at the press dinner, White House Correspondents' press dinner, that Trump has never gone to in his first term or even this term publicly. And they got Vance up there and other people in the administration, in the cabinet, all in one place, which is against security protocol to have the president and vice president standing beside each other like that at an off-site event, which are not in charge of security. And they didn't even screen anybody for X-ray backpacks. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, the rationale that came out of that was a call to get the ballroom, no obstruction to the ballroom from Congress or whatever. But it doesn't have anything to do with the ballroom. The press dinner is not theirs. It's in a hotel, the Hyatt. It's not even theirs to control. The press dinner is never going to be in the ballroom at the White House. So it's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. But all the call for the ballroom was a staged event, like a staged call out. In other words, it was and then after this happens, we're all going to tweet, we need the ballroom. See, we need the ballroom for security. But it ain't a ballroom. Outro. The real outro point is that I think I got a light version of what could have been something bad that was coming my way, and the universe was benevolent and gave me a very light tap. And that people knew, because they're occultists who run the back end of the deep state and all of that. The ball worshippers know how to do occult magic. If you have a bad aspect in your chart, and this time Trump did, you do a version of it that's lighter or fake, and it takes away the real version. It erases it. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Alrighty. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Astrology didn't describe what was happening. The moon, 29 degrees Leo on his ascendant, square Uranus at 29 Taurus on Algol, decapitation star. The moon did not describe, and the sky did not describe what was happening. It was used to make an event happen that described the sky, to take away the possibility of something out of control happening that's the same story. And because he was under threat under his current sky of harm's way from Mars, Mercury, Saturn, triple conjunction, squaring Mercury, the lord of his vital force energy planet, and his leadership, the sun from the house of hospitals where Mercury sits, it spoke to him being in real harm's way. I think they magically undid that. That's my take on it. It doesn't mean he's still not in harm's way, but from the factor of Algol decapitation star, that one has gone away. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Ciao, ciao. Thanks for subscribe. The description box, there's a more button, ... Click it. That's it. People say, where's the information? If you're on YouTube and you don't know how to find information, I'm wondering how you're on YouTube. There's a more button with 3 dots. When you click it, all the free stuff I offer you, all of my websites, whether you can get a reading with me or not, don't ask me in the comments. Go look below and find the information to know you can't get a reading with me. I'm not seeing new clients at all. But I also am putting together a list of recommended astrologers on my website by the end of this month, and you can see them instead. Early preview of Chiron. It was deep. It was long. I might have to repost this again with a new intro just to reboot it as Chiron around the June 20th moves into the part of the sky. So you might see this as a back end later if I have to use it, and I'll be doing a new world report instead. I will have a Chiron webinar, and I'll put a link in the description box below to sign up for it. I usually do free webinars, a lot of free content by me, but I'm going to give a nominal charge for this one. I mean, nominal, I don't know, really affordable, $14 or something, because I put a lot of time and energy, including guided meditation, into my webinars, and people walk away very, very happy that it came to them. But I think this one I'm going to give you a nominal charge rather than just for free. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Lunatic astrology.